Google Forms is a web-based survey creating and sharing program that can be used to simplify classroom data collection. Each shareable form you create automatically records results in a simple-to-read spreadsheet, and you can even create and view charts and graphs with one click. This video will provide a quick overview for how teachers can use Google Forms in their classroom. Creating a Google Form is as simple as creating any other document type in the Google Productivity Suite. From the tiles in the upper left corner of your Google home screen, select Forms, then click the plus sign to get started. Once you're in the document, simple navigation tools allow you to select from a menu of question types, including short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop-down, file upload, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, date, and time. While this is by no means an exhaustive list, here are some of the tasks that I use Google Forms for in my classroom. I often use polls and surveys to check my students' interests and understandings, help make class decisions, help incorporate choice into what we do. Sometimes I'll just ask them what they want to cover, what they need to cover, how well they think they understand something. It's just kind of another way to check in to see how everybody's doing. Some of the reluctant students who tend to not talk as much in class, they're not as intimidated by the digital format of the quizzes, and we can see how everybody is doing. You can make quick self-grading assessments. Here in a moment I'll show you how to do that. Flipped classroom assessments are also very helpful. Kids can read something outside of class. They can check their own understanding right away before they move on. Digital sign-ups and sign-outs, class behavior logs, late work, no homework form, really any type of class documentation form to check behavior, to keep records for administration. Google Forms can be used to implement a digital copy of those types of work. Bell work and exit tickets, again, the immediate response you get and the simplicity of the form itself make it to where kids don't mind doing this. They're used to the format, and you get instantaneous results. I'll also spend a little bit of time later in the video talking about SLOs, or student learning objectives, and how you can use the pre-test, post-test format to easily document your students' learning. You may find some of the built-in templates useful. I've used this exit slip before. To share this form with my class, all I need to do is click Send. I can copy the URL. I can send it as an email, post it to Google Classroom, or send it directly to students through other messaging services. And then I need to turn on responses. Right now this form is accepting responses. Responses are plugged into a spreadsheet. I can choose to create a new spreadsheet. I can call it what I want. If I offer this to multiple sections, I may name each one by sections. When I create it, it's automatically linked to the data. And as the kids take the quiz, their timestamp will go here, their name, their email, and the answers to the questions appear in the spreadsheet. Building your own custom assessment tool is simple too. Click on Blank Form. If you want, you can change the color, or you can change the theme altogether. There are many stock themes to choose from. I think it even allows you to upload your own picture. I'll call this one Quiz 1. To save the file as the same name, I can simply click in the upper left-hand corner. I could choose to save this to any of the folders I have in my drive also. I'll save this one as English 1. Now that quiz has been added to my freshman folder. So the next thing I need to do is decide the types of questions. I can add a description for my form here. I can add instructions. I'm just going to say choose the best answer. And now I'll begin typing my questions. If I want to add a multiple choice question, it's already set to do that. I can choose any of these other options, but I'll just stay with that. Let's say that I'm giving a quiz on Romeo and Juliet. In the beginning, I may ask some things about the prologue. Just to make sure that they understand the way the play is working and get a good handle on the vocabulary of theater and drama. To just hit the enter key to move on to the next question. I can choose to make this question required. That means that the students have to answer that before going on to the next question, or not. If I want to duplicate the question, I push the duplicate key. To add another question, I can just go to the plus sign here, and I'm on to my next question type. I can also add short answer boxes, long answer boxes. I'm going to choose a paragraph and have them answer an essay. So I've got that. I'm going to make this one required and move on. And so you just follow this process until you have all the quiz type questions that you would like to ask your students. Before you can create a self-grading assessment, you'll need to go to the Chrome store and make sure you have the Google add-on called Flubaroo. It's a Google Sheets add-on that helps you analyze data and automatically choose values for your scores. I've already done this, so I'll show you how it works. For the purpose of this demonstration, I've already administered a short multiple choice quiz over Dr. Heidegger's experiment to some of my students. You can see that I have 11 responses and that I've asked 4 multiple choice questions. Let's take a look at these results. If I click on responses, it takes me to the tab where I can see who's answered. So I've received results from these students. I can click on individual results and I can see how each student, as I toggle through this list, how they answered the questions. It tells me who they are and what they've chosen. But if I go back to summary, this is sometimes more useful because I can look down here and see how the students are answering. Even though it's a multiple choice quiz, you'll see that a lot of my students were in disagreement on the answers, and so maybe some follow-up instruction might be necessary there. Looking more specifically at the sheet, if I click on the little Google Sheets logo here, it takes me to the document where the responses are recorded. Before I can use Flubaroo to grade the assessment, I have to make an answer key. So I'm going to do that by simply taking the quiz myself. I have to turn the responses back on. And I need to view the quiz live. Here it is. And I can take the quiz now. So what lesson does Dr. Heidegger learn from his friends? Hawthorne builds suspense by what do Dr. Heidegger's friends learn from the experience? And from his guest reactions to the drink, you can infer that they are greedy and selfish. All right, so I've submitted my answers. Now I can go back to the document and score the test. And I can see when they took the quiz, and I can see who they are. And here I can see the answers that they've selected. So now I'm going to use Flubaroo to grade this assessment for me. The first thing I'm going to do is click Add-on, go to Flubaroo, and grade assignment. The first thing it's going to ask is how many points I want to assign to each question. Right now the default is 1. I'm going to change that to 2 apiece, make this an 8-point quiz. And click Continue. The next thing I need to do is I need to choose which one of these quizzes I'm going to use as the answer key. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Here's mine, and I'll move on. Right, so the grading is complete, and now I can look at this document. I can see the spreadsheet, the original submissions if I click on this tab, but if I go to this one, I can see what percentage they got correct. I can see specifically which questions were missed. I can see that these 2 questions had the lowest correct responses, and I can use this information to inform my instruction as I move on. Student Learning Objectives, or SLOs, provide necessary documentation to fulfill the student growth component of the teacher evaluation tool as set forth by the Illinois State Board of Education. Building and implementing Type 3 assessments in Google Forms greatly simplifies the process of gathering and analyzing data for student learning objectives. Type 3 assessments are defined as any assessment that is rigorous, that is aligned to the course curriculum, and that the qualified evaluator and teacher determine measures student learning in that course. Instituting a pre-test before instruction on a given concept is delivered, and then following it with a post-test is one way to document student growth. For instance, in a literature class, you may address the literary element theme. Google Forms allows you to check for student understanding both before and after that instruction occurs. This form provides students with a copy of Kate Chopin's The Story of an Hour, and then asks the students to identify the theme and to justify that theme with 3 pieces of evidence from the text. The instructor would collect the forms and record the scores. The next few instructional days may be spent defining and exampling theme across types and genres of literature. After the instruction was complete, the instructor would offer the same form with a different piece of literature, something similar in length like Alice Walker's The Flowers. The scores on the second assessment should show that the students have a better understanding of the theme. The 2 score sheets offer quantifiable data that shows that the students are learning and the growth is clearly documented for that teacher. As with all the other tools in Google's productivity suite, the products just keep getting better. One thing you do need to be aware of as you use Google Forms is to be mindful of how you distribute the form itself. Remember, if you're using Google Classroom, as with all other assignments you give, Classroom automatically makes a separate copy of the form for each class. If you hope you use the form to track data for your students across sections, you'll have to manually compile the data, and your students will have to have a Gmail account. Other than that, there are a few disadvantages to using Google Forms. In the end, Forms is a useful, simple tool that simplifies and improves instruction.